Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Facts on the Ground. I'm Misty Winston, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Jesse Zerwell. Today, super pumped. We have special guest, friend of the show, has his own show, does great work over there on Franc Analysis. So, thank you so much, Franco, for being on Facts on the Ground, man. It's good to have you here.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. Yeah, we had a great show when I had you guys on my show. It's still the most watched live stream. I had a lot
Is
of fun.
it?
We were cracking up that day. It was like right after
Yeah.
the first infighting began with Forced to Vote.
Uh,
When like Anna, like that's when it became toxic. When Anna started bringing up all this irrelevant beef
Personal
about
shit.
Jimmy,
Yes.
Yeah,
distracting
So
from
dumb.
people needing healthcare.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was
See, I
great.
don't
It was
remember
great to be
any
on,
show I'm
and
on.
no, it was
I
great to be
black out
on,
a
and
little bit.
it's great to have you on our show too. So
Yeah.
so yeah, we were just talking before we started about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the drama that she's been riling up via live streams and other forms of social media. So, what's your take on that?
I think that she is over exaggerating her stories just to rile people up, rile people's emotions up, to distract from the main issues that are happening in our country that are oppressing us. More surface level division, and it's really disappointing to see somebody who a lot of people put their energy in 2018 because they had a lot of faith in her, and now she's being a tool for the Democratic Party. By distracting people from these issues, right? What do you guys think about that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. But I think even worse than that, and I was just saying this too before we started recording, that she's manufacturing consent in a big way for mass censorship and this whole domestic terrorist bill. Like that's coming. And she is I mean, obviously advocating and pushing for that. And I mean, when she said that the word fuck, like Jimmy Dore saying the word fuck, or like saying fuck you, AOC, and
Mhm.
fuck anyone who protects you is somehow violent, um, she was obviously trying to push for him to potentially be deplatformed or, whatever. Like it's obvious her rhetoric is extremely dangerous around censorship. um the shit that she says to Facebook, she admonishes these guys for not censoring enough. you know like it's insane, and she's supposed to be on the left. Like she's very, I mean, her cosplay is good. Lots of people, I don't get it, lots of people go fall for it.
Mhm.
I don't know, what do you think, Jesse?
I think she's extremely juvenile, extremely short-sighted, extremely careerist, and extremely malleable to the at least democratic uh, upper tier that is pulling the levers for the Democratic Party, and I think that's borne out in what we've seen her vote for, in how we're seeing her act now. She's acting like a petulant child.
Mhm.
I mean, calling first of all calling this a coup. You want to talk about a real coup? I've brought this up to Misty
Mhm.
plenty of times. Look at Chile in 1973. That was a real coup. This wasn't anywhere near close to a coup. Never mind the fact that her office is across the street from the Capitol, and she was conveniently bussed out with the rest of the Congress people without having to really face even a hint of danger. And yeah, I think she's just trying to.
Well, okay, can we just pretend for a second that, like, let's just say every, like, and I don't want to discount her experience or whatever. I'm not trying to be like a full on asshole, but let's just say like all of that's true and she's very traumatized by this event. You
Mhm.
It says she probably shouldn't be in Congress.
Mhm.
Like that's a very stressful job, and there's a potential for there to be I mean, you're in government. Like you have to be ready for that level of anger directed at you, especially if you're failing the people you're supposed to be representing. That's just how it works. Like if you don't like I'm not justifying violence, but when people can't afford to go to the doctor, they don't have a job, they're being held in quarantine, they're losing their houses, they can't afford to put food on the table, their government has sent them like crumbs, and they had to argue for almost a year to give us like maybe $1,400
Mhm.
maybe 1,000. Who knows if you even get it, because they're going to means test the shit out of it. So it's like, I mean, what do you, how, I don't know what she expects. So you should probably not be in Congress if you're
Yeah.
that traumatized, and that's okay. Like bow out, like it's cool. But it this is I don't know. It's really mind-boggling to me that this is even a thing. And this is like soaked all of the air out of the room. Like everything, you can't now, people are like, if you even criticize, like I tried criticizing her on like just saying, her trauma doesn't, because people are, it somehow means that like now you can't criticize her. And
Mhm.
it's really weird, people's reaction to her. It really is. It's like
Yeah.
cultish, sort of. It
Yeah,
really is.
we're not supposed to be treating politicians with kid gloves. I mean, look at
No.
if you think it's like that the pressure that she receives is hard, look at how people treat their politicians in other countries, like in Latin America. I mean, I'm not saying that this was at all anything good, but look at how they treated that lady who supported Evo Morales, who was in his party when she was like
Yeah.
spray painted red. In Guatemala, they built a guillotine and put it in front of Congress. It's like, if you don't do anything, we're gonna chop some heads off.
Mm.
But that is the type of pressure that politicians receive when people are upset. And in our country right now, when we have this homelessness crisis, when we have people losing their jobs and losing their health care because it's tied to their jobs, or losing their health care just because they can't afford it, then you're going to have angry people. And you're going to have to deal with that as a congressperson if you're not doing your job. But if you do your job, and if you show that you're actually fighting for us, then we're going to have your back.
Well, that's
But
like the
her,
thing
look at you,
though.
like
Like you're,
she like campaigned for Biden. She supported Biden,
yes.
who said that he's pro fracking, who said he's going to veto Medicare for all. How are we going to have your back? And especially when you are minimizing Tara Reid's trauma that she had with Joe Biden. How are we supposed to have your back, AOC? You couldn't
Mhm.
even endorse
Yeah.
several Justice Democrats, so you seem disingenuous.
Yeah,
So don't blame us for not trusting you.
Yeah. And
I
this is like a
absolutely
pattern
agree
of
with that.
behavior. This isn't like her first time where this is something that she's done. Like this is a pattern of behavior now. I mean, how many times have we seen her do something like this? I don't know what, I mean, she's either I don't know what her deal is, man. It's pretty incredible, the level of drama.
Well,
And
I think she's the epitome of what being in government, at least in a congressional position, is nowadays. It's that you can
celebritician.
slop around, yeah, like a celebritician, taking one position, ditching it for another, ditching that one for another, just being all over the place. And I feel, um, I don't know if I would say that Obama set the standard for that, but
Oh my God.
he
He was a
certainly laid a
pro
lot of
actor.
groundwork for that because,
He was good.
as Norman Finkelstein said, one day he's giving Bob Dylan, some, what is it, the Freedom Medal or something, and the next day he's drone assassinating American citizens. It's these people stand for nothing,
Yeah.
except what benefits them, and
Well,
Obama,
and Franco, you compared, like said her trauma compared to, how about her trauma compared to her constituents, the people of the United States? Like, what about
exactly.
their trauma? What about the
Mhm.
fact that, people are like literally losing everything again, you guys? Like, we just had a crash in 2008, and so like I was saying, what was it, 5 million people got kicked out of their houses in the 2008 crash. And it's like, now Biden's back. How many we add into that? How many are we going to add to that? How many more people are going to lose everything? And this again, like 12 years later, a lot of the same people who suffered then are going to suffer now. It's, what about that trauma? What about that trauma? What about the trauma of not having healthcare and then not having progressive members of Congress fight even just a little bit, a little? Like, that was bare minimum what we were asking. And that's traumatic. Like, that's traumatic for people. People.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm supposed to feel bad for her. I mean,
no,
yeah,
I
people
think
not being able to see their loved ones die when they were quarantining. Like, some people couldn't be in the same room, like when their loved ones were dying.
Like on
that's
FaceTime.
Yeah, like
saying goodbye to family members.
It seems like she's a natural at this, but then again, there's politicians who do receive a lot of coaching and acting lessons. It was Jason Bermas who was bringing up this actor. I forgot his name, but he acts exactly like Obama. He was Obama's acting coach, and that's pretty much who Obama based his whole character on. I don't know if you guys know this guy's name, but she seems to be good at it.
It's gonna bother
She seems
me.
to be good at acting.
Yeah, she does. And doesn't she have an agent too, like CAA? Isn't that like the controversial agency or whatever that everybody talks about?
Yeah, they schedule some of her meetings, but I don't know if if she's organized with them in the same way that like Nancy Pelosi and Don Lemon and all these other people are. But she's there in that circle. Then she's probably in the same email list. She probably receives the same requests, demands.
I mean, y'all, politicians don't make the decisions in this country. It's lobbyists. It's corporations. Corporations make the decisions. The politicians are just there, to like make things look official. But really, they're not really doing anything. They don't write the bills. They do none of that stuff. The lobbyists do. Corporations do. Like, we are completely controlled by corporations. And
and AOC, she made a profit off her last campaign. It started off with a bit over $1 million and ended up with a bit over $3 million. Maybe that's normal, I don't know, but to make a profit off a political campaign in the millions of dollars seems pretty sketchy to me. Especially
I think that, look at all of them, all of their finances. And
this is what I've been trying to call out, but the pushback you get is, well, what? An Amazon worker on the assembly line isn't allowed to donate? Go look at who's donating. It's not assembly line workers. I've said this so many times, and okay, it's somebody who works in IT, and they have every right to donate to whom they want to, but there's still a class aspect to that.
I think a lot of lower middle class people also donate to her because they believe in her bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, they bought onto the personality and the rhetoric, because she was very good in 2018 with her campaign. Like, it was very well written. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was very good at playing that role, but it was immediate shift to establishment.
If you try to look up her 2018 campaign platform, where she had the peace economy, for example, it's gone. You can't find it. There's actually a good antiwar.com piece about how she disappeared that, and now nobody really remembers it. So,
compare her words from back then to how they are now. Like, Jimmy has a whole compilation of them that he played thanks to Matt Orfala. Like, it's completely different. She's become a neoliberal without taking corporate money, but because she's defending these corporatists, because she's defending Joe Biden and Pelosi, who represent corporations, she is in a way defending corporations. However way you see it, directly or indirectly, she's defending them, right? And I think the worst part about this is her enablers. Like, the biggest factor in this is that not only did she like profit off of this in some way, but she profited off of it psychologically with her fame. And so she gets that feedback from the TYTs, from the majority reports, and the Brooklyn left, the Jacobins who defend her. And she feels like she can do no wrong. She thinks people are going to back her up anyway. There's people like us. I don't know if you guys ever supported her from the start. I thought she was promising, but people have woken up.
Cautiously optimistic, but
yeah.
People
woke
pessimistically
up,
curious.
There's some people who woke up, like Jackson Hinkle was telling me that he doesn't trust AOC anymore. There was other people who I met at the Forced to Vote protest that were telling me that they don't trust her anymore. But
I don't know how anybody does.
Yeah, they pointed out. Oh, the thing is that she changed. Like her base changed. Like now she has the support of a lot of neoliberals and normies.
Yeah.
Now that she gained that fame, now that the mainstream media speaks positively about her.
Well, that was when I first really got super suspicious of her, is when mainstream media was all over her. And if you're adversarial at all in the way that you should be against the establishment, you're not welcome on mainstream media. And so I'm immediately skeptical of anybody who's welcome on mainstream media, and they love her. And that was pretty early on that they kind of adopted a more favorable position. And which I mean, listen, I get it from their point of view too. Like, she's young, she's pretty, she's, well-spoken. That's ratings.
She's not that well-spoken.
Well, she is in the way that
when she's given a script, she's
relatable.
That's what I mean. Like, people can follow along, and you know what I mean? Like, she's very the character she plays is very approachable, and you know what I'm saying? So but I really, at this point, I don't understand why anybody still thinks that she's fighting for you. I don't know how many ways can she shove it in your face that she's not before you're like, oh, right, okay, I get it now.
Right.
It's bizarre.
If you just watch mainstream media, which a lot of people do, because again, we've talked about this, people have their obligations, they have their families. Sometimes all they have to resort to is turning on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News. The constant narrative that's coming from at least MSNBC and CNN is that this is some sort of organized attack against her from the GOP and other nefarious elements, when really it's of her own making, and it's of her own giving in to the neoliberal consensus. And a lot of Democrats, like dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, they don't want to accept that. They'll tell you, well, oh, that's just your opinion. That's not really how she is. Just wait, give her a chance.
How many more?
When 2009,
I have people saying that about Biden. Dude's had 50 years. Really? Give him time. People say that. Just give him time. He just took office. Are you kidding me?
And they're like, he was just vice president. He was just a senator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now
he's
just
done
give him
nothing.
Time. He just took office. Ugh.
He's done nothing positive. He's done everything negative, including war crimes. I mean, he's committed the worst crimes you can commit under international law.
Damaging to humanity, and has been for 5 decades. Just give him time.
Yeah.
No, not a good plan.
Well, I don't know how it was for you guys, but here in DC, you guys remember, I don't know if you saw a lot of Biden signs around, but it's very neoliberal around the DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Oh, I have no doubt.
And when he won, you would have thought that we accomplished world peace. People were driving around, honking their horns. I don't know how it is over for you guys, where you guys are, like in Ohio. And Jesse, where are you from?
I'm in Jersey. No, it wasn't like that. But I will say,
I'm surrounded by Trump voters, dude.
People had barbecues. Like my mom's neighbors were having a cookout. After he won.
Just to that note, when Obama was elected for his first term, I was living in Brooklyn, and the night he won, it was like that. People were driving around honking their horns, fireworks were going off, et cetera, et cetera. So I
Oh
can relate a
God, you
little bit to
guys.
what you're talking about.
I was more asleep back then. I didn't know. I was in ninth grade, I think, or 10th grade. So I mean, I didn't know anything. I was like, oh, first black president. That's pretty cool. But
Right.
I can imagine like how lonely it
That
must have felt
that
though back
that
then.
made more sense, Jesse. Being excited about Obama, that made a little bit of sense. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? But being
I,
excited about Joe Biden, oh,
They were
like,
celebrating Trump losing more so.
right?
But
right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you're definitely right.
they the silver lining here is that they can't rely on a boogeyman anymore, unless they're like, oh, we're gonna get another like white supremacist if we don't keep supporting Biden. Keep supporting Biden as things continually keep shifting to the right, as things
And
keep
he is a white
incrementalism keeps
supremacist. He's a
going to help.
segregationist.
Hmm. Incrementalism is going to help the rich elite. It's not going to help you, like the working class people. That's how incrementalism actually works. It doesn't go in the direction that you think it does. It goes in the direction that you're supposed to be fighting against.
Yeah, incrementalism is just another euphemism for trickle down economics, and we know how that works. It
Yeah.
doesn't.
And
So
it
It
just
happens
keeps
so
getting
slow that
progressively
people
more
forget the
right. Yeah, it's
yeah,
really bad, you
yeah,
guys. We're in a really bad spot.
yeah. I think that Biden, I wouldn't even call him a centrist at best. I think he's to the right, and he has this he has that presidential patina despite his failing faculties. And I I think we've seen him come into office and kind of like shoot his wad already, like with like a few like liberal offerings, and now people are like, okay, where are our stimulus checks, right? Where where is any kind of social welfare that you promised us, or that should be de rigueur under an administration like yours? And it's not there, and it's not going to be there. And it just points again to the fact that he's a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much clearer it can be put. And if you don't want to
Is he
accept
though?
that,
Because he's
if
pretty upfront about like being a douche canoe. Nothing will fundamentally
Yeah.
change. I'm going to veto Medicare for all in the middle of a pandemic. Like he's kind of like Trump. Like he kind of comes right out and says it, but not as often.
That's a good
And
point.
he's less vulgar and abrasive. He's
Mhm.
more like that goofy drunk uncle that you have that says really inappropriate things at a funeral,
the
or
drunkle.
you know what I mean, like he's that kind of like, but he is like, he's kind of like Trump. Like he really doesn't know how to put on the show anymore. Like he really never did. Joe Biden has always been very clear about who he is. I don't know
Yeah.
how anybody ever, like Bill Clinton did a fantastic job of turning the Democratic Party into the Republican Party, because the fact that Joe Biden was a Democrat and has openly racist as that dude is, like, that's kind of amazing to me.
He
Like that
makes you
really
think.
shows you.
I was gonna say that he
God,
makes you think that the things that we can't do are like that. He's being honest about it. Like he's like, oh, we can't have Medicare for all because people like their health care. Like it makes you think that that's true, even though the majority of the country wants Medicare for all.
Right.
yeah. Well, it's just because he has a D after his name.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh,
these liberals are totally won over. It's kind of amazing. It really is, if you think about it. Like the psychology behind it, it's terrifying because like we've shifted so far to the right that I don't even know how we come back. But yeah, it's
it's gonna take
pretty
public
like we have
pressure.
Well,
lots of it. But
Yeah.
go
it's
ahead.
sad.
You,
It's
I
Go
was gonna say,
ahead,
you guys
Franco.
know who is a fraud though? The guy who ran on giving us Medicare for all and saying that he was gonna fight tooth and nail with us to get it. but then ended up campaigning for Biden, and then saying later on, "Oh, we are getting $2,000. It's 1,400 plus 600." Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Man, what a fraud! People wasted their time
and money. That's what pisses me off. I'm telling you, I tell the story, or I don't tell it all the time, but I have told it before. So in 2016, I wasn't I had hope for Bernie. I knew who he was, but I also thought, well, maybe there's a little bit of him in there that we can at least, get some things pushed in the right direction, right? Like maybe. So I was on board. I donated. I went to a rally. I volunteered. I phone banked. All that stuff. I met people who were skipping meals. I know, but I met people who were skipping meals to send him money, and that pisses me off because he very clearly defrauded these people. He basically stole their money. He never intended to fight for them. He sold them a line of bullshit. And they sent their money in because they really were desperate for somebody to fight for them. And that's what makes me angry. Millions of people. I know that I think 2 or 3 people that I met who would do that. But there's millions of them, for sure. And that's gross. That's really gross.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the 2020 run, the 2016 run, I can give him a little bit more leeway because maybe he didn't know exactly to the extent that they would push back on him. Maybe he could have gone into that. I'll give him a little bit. Okay. But 2020, he knew his campaign from jump was weak as fuck. He had no intention of winning in 2020. He called that in, there was no fight in him whatsoever. He hired the worst people, with some exceptions. I like Bree, but I mean, come on, you guys. The people that he hired, everybody should have seen it then. Everybody should have seen it then. For real. So, yeah, that, to me, that's gross. That people keep trying to say, oh, well, he's a good guy. No, good guys do not take money from hardworking people promising to fight for them and then sell them out to Joe fucking Biden, all while telling them that he's a good friend and a good man. And he's a fucking war criminal, dude. Mm-hmm. He's probably a rapist. He gropes little girls on camera. And you're going to gaslight your own supporters and tell him that this is a good man who can beat Trump and you should support him. That's gross. That's not a good person. Bernie's not a good person. That's not, no. Mm-mm. You cannot sell me on that. Sorry. Nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah. And
that's wrong.
It didn't just stop there because you would think oh, he's just trying to get Joe Biden elected by all means just because we can't afford having Trump. He voted for Anthony Blinken, Lloyd Austin, Avril Haines, all of these war criminals.
He's gonna vote for Neera Tanden.
He's about to do it. It's really not going to surprise me. What's his name? Glenn Greenwald had an article making up a quote of what Bernie Sanders would say when voting for Neera Tanden. He's we're putting our differences aside to vote for Neera Tanden. I think he's this for now.
He talked about it on Jimmy too. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, but that's exactly what he's going to do. Neera Tanden's a friend of mine. We got to put our differences behind us and move forward in unity. And
I trust Joe Biden's decision in getting her into this position. Come on, bro.
You're going to do a great job. I'm excited to work with you. Yeah. Called him a sexist and a racist and all of his supporters too. She shit all over Bernie supporters for 4 years. You know what I'm saying? I've been blocked by her for forever. Oh. But I mean, I've heard she's a complete nightmare on Twitter. But yeah, and he's gonna do that. What's coming?
People like her are a dime a dozen, and they all want access to power. That's what they want, whether it's in the White House press pool or whether it's in a cabinet position or an advisory position. That's what they lust for. And if they can get it, they will change their views or positions to suit their new opportunity however they need to. That's all they care about. They care about access to power, and that's it. They don't care about human welfare.
And money.
Right. Well, access to power and money
kind of go hand in hand.
Grouping together. Yeah. But they don't care about real human welfare or getting Medicare for all passed, or let's not even get into universal education, because that seems like something off on the event horizon. But yeah, they're not honest people, and we don't have to meet them to know that. We just have to look at what they do, what they've done, what they've said, and
how they voted.
Yeah, it's become very obvious, and it's funny, but it's also fucking annoying, the people who still hang on to them, like they're gonna somehow make a sea change, and
it's depressing, really.
and like see the world the way we see it, and understand, you know, what each of us has to go through every day just to live, just to get by, to eat, to pay bills, you know, like things they don't have to worry about. They get free healthcare, you know, that's not a concern for them. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I don't have any healthcare, and I haven't for years. But you still have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure do.
So.
And it's not cheap. Yeah, but I mean, that's what's so frustrating though, is that, you know, there are people that still hang on to this stuff. And I don't know how much more obvious it could be. Like, do you know what I'm like, just like if we're talking about AOC, just as an example, just because she's the most like obvious example, her voting record is pretty terrible on key issues like the CARES Act and voting to expand NATO. That was her first vote ever.
Yeah.
Like her first vote ever was to expand NATO. Like,
yeah.
That's not a good sign.
Somebody criticized me on Twitter for pointing that out, saying that AOC, you know, she was a freshman then, and probably wasn't that familiar with NATO. Then she shouldn't be voting on a key NATO.
To be honest about it, she should get a research team to do research on it.
Yeah.
Kind of like how when she was about to go to a eulogy for that Israeli war criminal. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point you were making about these people. They really don't want to give up that position of power. They feel like they're gods walking among men, and they'll do anything that they can to keep that position. Like they'll change their views, whether it's conscious or unconscious. And then there's these enablers that are on independent media, who kind of get it, who feel like, who are almost out of the matrix, who understand that there's money in politics and that's why we can't get anything done. They listen to these people on independent platforms with a lot of subscribers, and then they're like, oh, this guy, he's more honest in the mainstream media. And then they confirm their biases of hoping for these people. And then they're not out of the matrix yet. They get stuck for a long time too, listening to these independent news outlets that just prop up the Democratic Party. They tell us that we can still have hope in them. And that's why it's a great thing that there's more people like us who hold those people accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the accusations we get, I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, but I think you'd both agree, is that we're just out to pick on people, and we're just putting out clickbait, things like that we're not really paying attention to the policies when we actually are, and that's what we're criticizing. But there's such an entrenched cult of personality that's
this is not a profitable line of work. Like, to be honest about things, like these people are like, oh, you're grifting. Like,
literally,
you're doing it for clicks.
Everybody hates you. Everybody. The right hates you because you tell the truth about the right. The left hates you because you tell the truth about the left. Like people for whatever reason hate when you're consistent. Like when you have consistent criticism across the board. Like that's what drives me the most nuts. Is, you know, it's always, especially like the squad, Bernie does it. Republicans are bad. Like, oh, Donald Trump's the worst president ever and Republicans are evil. I'm sorry, but you guys remember, like in 2018, the whole thing was that we were going to elect AOC to go fight Nancy Pelosi. Like that was the whole fucking point, right? Like, um, what I don't care about Republicans. Like, I know Republicans are terrible. Like, obviously, we need to have that conversation.
I know, water's wet.
Yeah.
What? Okay, great. Republicans are terrible. Now what? You still have to deal with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the fact that they're the ones who are preventing any progress. It's not Republicans, fam. It's Nancy Pelosi. She's the reason why we don't have a floor vote on Medicare for all. Why, like why are we having this conversation? I don't give a shit about Republicans. I really don't. We can't even almost think about dealing with Republicans until we can deal with the Democratic Party. Why are we having this talk? Like this is not a chat that we need to have again.
Right.
The whole purpose of the squad was to go and reform the Democratic Party. Remember when that was a thing? We're going to reform the Democratic Party. We're going to make them progressive. Oh, how'd that go? How'd that turn out? Because by my calculations, the party is worse now than they were when y'all got started.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? What is the point?
When you point these things out, I don't know if you guys have received like any like hate mail yet, but I've been receiving a lot more now.
Mostly hate tweets.
I get hate tweets. I get hate
mail.
Videos, lists.
Yeah, I get added onto lists, and I'm like, oh, wow, what the heck?
I'm jealous. I haven't been on a list yet.
Like I get sent like DMs with like clown emojis, like people like telling me to like kill myself.
Oh, I turn my DMs
like, bro,
off.
just for like disagreements or for pointing things out that you were uncomfortable with accepting.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, I shut my DMs down so that you have to be following, or I have to be following you for you to be able to DM me, because I have way too many hate follows and trolls, dude. Like my mentions by themselves are already a mess. I can't imagine if I had open DMs. So I totally feel your pain. It's ridiculous. And these are people that like I don't even know. Like I didn't even know they existed until like people started sending me like pictures of myself on these random lists by these weird people who usually have like a rose or like some lib hashtag or whatever. And I mean, it's exhausting. And these are people who are saying that like we're not real leftists, but they think AOC is left. And it's hysterical. Like that's hysterical to me. I'm not a real leftist, but these are people who like AOC is the gatekeeper of leftism. No. It's
Yeah, so and then they claim to be fighters against white supremacy, but they're not focusing on how we are killing black and brown kids in other countries. And then they try to act like they're more social justice warriors than me, like a minority. Like, are you kidding me? Like you think you care about like minorities, but you're not calling out the BS that we're doing in other countries. Like you are protecting AOC and Bernie for making decisions, like voting for Antony Blinken, voting for all these war criminals and defending these war criminals while they kill all these people in the global south.
Well, they don't imperialism. I don't think these people even think about foreign policy at all, ever. Like, I don't know how you could consider yourself on the left if that is not something that you're thinking about. And it's inexcusable. Like this stuff is inexcusable. Like AOC deferring to caucus leadership on a fucking coup. And, I mean, don't even get me started on Bernie Sanders. Like his voting record, like across his history, he is an imperialist, y'all. Like you need to just like come to terms with that. And yeah, I mean, like be a grown up and be able to like objectively look at his record and be like, oh, okay, this guy is not. But I don't think these people think about foreign policy. It's like the true like privileged American exceptionalism, where they don't think about what we do elsewhere. All they're worried about is they're like I call them hipster liberals. Like they're. It's like they want to be left because they think it's cool. Like Bernie made it kind of like cool to be on the left. But it's very surface thinking. Like they're surface thinkers. They do not think beyond like the trendy Medicare for all and Green New Deal, like the catchy slogans. They don't think about what we're doing to Somalia right now, or you know what I'm saying? Like that stuff doesn't even. Yeah, I mean. They don't think about that stuff.
Speaking of,
And
happy Black History Month, everybody.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Yesterday
let's
was
think
the first
about
day.
why they are the way that they are, though. Like, I can kind of understand. Like, it's annoying as shit. Like, don't get me wrong, but they're the way that they are because America is just so successful at indoctrinating people from an early age. Like, our
Yeah.
education system, if you think about it, is very archaic. The way that
Mm-hmm.
they censor bad things, like they don't want to talk about all these bad things that America has done, and that's why we're also so illiterate on foreign policy. It's never talked about on the news. We barely learn about other cultures in school, and so there is this we don't understand other cultures. We don't understand people from other countries, so we can't relate to them. Like when I was growing up, it was like shortly after 9/11, when Bush was and all the Republicans were making Arab and Muslims out to be as all like dangerous people that we should watch out for. There were Arab and Muslim kids that were getting bullied, and even people that look like them, like Persians, Indians, they were called terrorists.
Mhm.
And that's a result of manufacturing consent being so successful in the United States from an early age. And I don't know
The
if you guys ever
propaganda
experienced that
game.
growing up too.
Yeah, the propaganda game in this country is strong. They know what they're doing. It's an effective machine. I mean, it really is incredibly effective. And you're right. Like we are brainwashed from birth that the United States is the greatest country on earth, and we get all these "I'm proud to be American" songs, and the flags everywhere, and it's like pomp and circumstance, like it's very like out there, and so yeah, people and we don't have access to like legitimate reporting on war or any of that stuff. And so people are just completely clueless. Like they have no idea what's actually happening in the world around them. And that's terrifying. Like Steve always says, the United States of America is the most propagandized country on earth.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. I mean, think about it. If you really think about it, you allow yourself to like let go of your crap and you think about it, like we are brainwashed from birth. And especially now with the 24-hour news cycle, if you think about it, it's on in every airport, in every doctor's office, dentist's office, gym. When you go to get your oil change and you have the little waiting room while they're doing it, it's on, like the mainstream media is on everywhere.
There's magazines everywhere. Like
Mhm.
when like the homepage that your desktop computer chooses for you, like
Mhm.
MSN.com or Bing or whatever, it's like or Yahoo, like they showed you these like mainstream articles for you guys to read.
Yep.
Um,
Bing
what
sucks.
else was I gonna say about this?
That's all I'll say about Bing.
YouTube does it now too. Like YouTube will
Yeah,
recommend mainstream media news. Like I have never purposefully went and clicked on a CNN link ever on YouTube. I've never done that. Never. I guarantee you that has never happened.
You should
But
try it. It's a thrill.
if I leave my shit on autoplay, it'll load like a CNN video or an
Mhm.
yeah.
MSNBC video. And I've
Mhm.
never, that's not like my viewing habits. That's not, so it's clearly their algorithm force feeding me mainstream media propaganda. Like it's everywhere. You're right. Our history books, like our history is so not our history. Like the things that we're taught, it's not anywhere near accurate. And it's incredibly white supremacist, and it's incredibly just like colonizer, it's it's so distorted. And that's what we force feed our kids, and that's what everybody is made to believe is true, and
Yeah.
it's none of it's real. None
And
of it's real.
it's
It's
not
passed
taught.
down from generation to generation. Like we thought the 1950s and 60s were bad when they would brainwash people into thinking that communists were evil, that it's an evil system. Now things are even more privatized. Like these corporations are even more powerful now. The internet is something that they weren't expecting that we were going to use to our advantage to inform ourselves. So there's more pushback now thanks to that. Information's traveling faster, and they're seeing that, and now they're trying to fight back by having mass censorship uprise now. Like Steve is now being called a QAnon. Like he has like the
Yeah.
QAnon page for Wikipedia underneath his videos
Yes.
when
No,
he's
he even
criticized
went on with
QAnon.
Convo Couch. Like, it wasn't even
Oh
his
my
video.
God.
He
It
was on
followed me.
Convo Couch, and they labeled Convo Couch's video that Steve was a guest on. So it's not even just his videos. Like, he's appearing on somebody else's show, and they're labeling it as QAnon. It's amazing. And they didn't even mention QAnon, not once. Like, the one show that Steve did was about the World Economic Forum, and then when he was on QAnon, I think they talked about um the Great Reset and
Yeah.
like the left and like all the craziness. So there was
It's
no QAnon, but they labeled it as such.
It's so creepy. Like, it started out with them labeling like RT as like Russian state media. I'm like, okay, I can understand how they were able to find that because, you know, RT, okay, Russian state media, and then they label that. I don't support that being labeled as
No.
that. Like why don't you label MSNBC as like U.S. corporate media, right? But then they start finding these videos, like you mentioned, like the elections, and they're like they give you a link to like AP and the election results, and it's like, oh, the election results are already in, like check it out. Or they give a link to like QAnon, like we were just mentioning, or about Syria. Like they're amping it up, and it's going to get worse because of the ties to big tech and the intelligence community that are now in the Joe Biden administration. They were there in the Trump administration, but I think there's even more now during the Joe Biden administration.
Yeah. I'd like to get into that. But before we do, I'd just like to say, with regard to the YouTube warnings when you go on a foreign channel, my favorite is when you go on Telesur, for example, and it says this station is affiliated with the Latin American government. Which one? like Latin America is not the US. One country.
Yeah. The US is they're the only truth tellers. They're exceptional.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but just you know, it's not even the censorship of that. It's the ignorance of like,
yes,
this is affiliated with the Latin American government. I mean,
yeah,
there are dozens upon dozens of Latin American countries if you're including all of the global South, and it's kind of like a spit in the face to, you know, not just people from the global South, but anybody who wants to access or watch that.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I'm glad we brought up censorship, because that's definitely something I wanted to talk to you about, because you're right. It is absolutely 100% going to get worse. And I think that a lot of what all of the rhetoric around what happened on January 6th has been so over the top, and why I mean, this AOC staying into this game, you know, like what she said about Jimmy being violent, and when she goes to Congress and begs for more censorship. So there has been like this massive push for more censorship, and now we're hearing rumblings again about the domestic terrorism bill. And okay, so how long do you think it's going to take before we are all like taken off the internet? What's your prediction?
Off the internet.
I don't think it's going to take very long.
Off of YouTube, probably this year.
Soon.
They're trying. They know which channels are talking about are more objective and that are exposing the mainstream media narratives, and then they try to hit you with the randomest things. Like we saw last year when they hit Combo Couch for talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, and that. What was that, like these stores that had like the prices that were like ridiculous, and then it was like supposed to be like for child trafficking. They said that they were bullying people.
Yeah.
And then my video, I don't know if you guys saw my post, but one of my videos got taken down, even though that video was already deleted, and it was a video that was like failed to stream. It makes absolutely no sense. It's like you're spamming. It's a you're false advertising. I'm like, it failed to stream. It was going to be a video, but then it didn't happen because of my internet connection, and then I deleted it. So I don't understand why it gets taken down. Right. And then Graham Elwood got censored today. Jordan Cheriton, even though he was saying that we need censorship against people who are quote unquote inciting violence by spreading misinformation about the elections, and he gets censored. It's so ironic when these
we need
people that
censorship against people like Jordan Chariton who are quote unquote inciting just insipidness when it
Censorship.
comes insipidness and
It's just
timidness when it comes to politics in the real world.
well, they just don't even recognize their own hypocrisy. Like they justify calling for censorship by, oh, or you were inciting violence, but he's also equating what Pasta and Fee were doing to, you know what I mean? Like it's just ridiculous. And who gets to decide what is
I don't
inciting
think he
violence
should
and
be
who gets to
I don't think he should
decide?
be censored. Just to make that clear, I think
yeah.
No, yeah.
everybody should have
No,
their
I'm just saying
voice.
it
But
like he just doesn't even recognize his own hypocrisy. Like none of them do. Like the Socialist Equality Party, they were calling for censorship and then they got censored. And then they're like, "Oh, but it's different." No, it's not. It's not fucking different. It's not different. Censorship is bad. Like it's bad. It's not good. It's always going to be used against you. There is no middle ground. There just isn't. Sorry. I mean, I get
Yeah.
it. Like you don't like what those people are saying. That sucks, but there is no middle ground here. If you are okay with censorship at all, it will be used against you. It will. Period. End of story. That's how it goes. I don't know why
Well,
that's controversial.
I was gonna say, like, seeing at the rate that it's going, like seeing more of these channels like ours getting suppressed and getting their videos taken down, I think it might be this year or next year when we'll all be taken off of YouTube. And then hopefully we get the word out enough and let people know that there's other platforms that exist that are alternative to YouTube, like Odyssey, like BitChute, like Rockfin, which we're both now in,
Yeah.
which are better. They pay better. Like I'm already getting paid proportionally more on Rockfin than I'm getting paid on YouTube. YouTube steals your money. Like we put the content there for them so that people can come to their website, and then they don't pay us for that. It's slavery. But yeah, they're us talking about that is a threat to them, and they're gonna do everything in their power to take us down, especially since Joe Biden was the elected candidate by the intelligence community. Like that's who they were supporting. Just look at his transition team. Look at who's in his administration. Like they all have shady pasts with intelligence and connections with big tech. It's gonna ramp up.
yeah,
Big time.
I think that's a very important point too. Is that Biden he's a return to the national security state status quo that was that was flourishing so much under Obama and even Bush Jr. and certainly under Clinton, and it kept a lot of people stable in cushy positions of power. It made promotions of certain people easy, and that's what they want a return to. People like John Brennan, the drone czar, the assassin czar, Obama's, basically, hey John, should we kill this guy or shouldn't we? I know there's some fine folks down there, but we got to kill somebody. And those people, they dominate not just the national security state, but so much of the government. And to them, the status quo is like them coming back into a state of power as they're back in now under Biden. And that's why they're content and happy with that. And they'd like to see more of it if they could.
100%. Yeah. You guys know about?
And I think that they were like that under Trump though. Like they were all. I don't think they really cared about. I think they didn't really care about Trump. Like they didn't like him because he was like unpredictable. But for the most part, he did what he was told.
I think they were scared under Trump. I think people like John Brennan and James Clapper, these people who went on to have contributor positions at CNN and MSNBC. I think they were scared, and that's why they went on to those shows to say what they said, to basically lie, like James Clapper lied in front of Congress. because it threatens their status quo. Like, their lives have no meaning. They have nothing to do if there's no internal or external enemy, whether real or not, for them to, prop up and fight. And that's where they get their power from having that, whether perceived or realistic enemy. And Trump was, he kind of peeled the mask off that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not giving him any praise. I'm just saying what he did. But, now that we're back with Biden, I think it's going to be Obama 2.0, but just, the sequels are always shittier, or usually shittier. But I think that's what we're going to see.
Oh, man, I forgot to say that Bernie's 2020 run was like a bad sequel to his 2016 run. But yeah, definitely Joe Biden. The thing now, though, is that there's more people awake, so we're going to have to, every single bad thing that Joe Biden does, we're going to have to scream it at the top of our lungs to these neoliberals and be like, hey, you hated when Trump did this? Joe Biden's doing it now. That's the thing. Like, Trump put an ugly face on the ugly things America was already doing, and that's what pissed off the elite. Mm-hmm. Trump was... he's in the elite circle, but he's not in the political elite circle. So he wasn't good at hiding things. Like when he was like, we're in Syria, we secured the oil, we're protecting the oil. And so like, don't you think that somebody was like screaming at him, was like, yo, why are you saying that? You're not supposed to say that.
For sure.
And so they hated that. It would F up their plans.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that that's the only reason why he was just unpredictable. There was he's just too dumb to like carry on the facade, like Joe Biden is not gonna, like, everybody keeps thinking that he's gonna be like this classier version of Trump, and maybe a little bit, but for the most part, like they're just gonna hide him. I think we're not gonna see much of Joe Biden at all. Like he still hasn't given it like a sit down interview since the election, like with a journalist, or that's unheard of. Like you just got elected president and he hasn't done any sit down interviews. Like that's pretty insane. I think they're honestly just going to try to hide him as much as possible. Like they'll trot him out for some photo ops here and there and maybe a few press conferences, but for the most part I think they're going to try to hide him away because he's not good at keeping his mouth shut, and he does say really ridiculous things all the time and tell the truth when he shouldn't. And I mean, he's, but I don't think that they're counting on him for very long. I think, and Kamala is, I guarantee you she has an acting coach like we talked about earlier. I guarantee you she does, which is sad because she is not very good at the game at all. Like she's just not a very good actress. And that laugh, you guys.
That's
okay. So yeah, well, we've talked about this. Steve loves me to talk about this, but so it's called duping delight, and it's like a real thing. And what it is like it's like an involuntary like smile, grin, or giggle or laugh when you're lying to people because you get off on the fact that you think you're fooling them. And it's a real thing. And that is 100% what that is, because she does it at the most inappropriate times. And yeah, so that's what that's called, duping delight. And she is a psychopath. 100%. 100%.
Just look at her record as a DA in California. Speaks for itself. And people can try to whitewash that however they want, but the facts are the facts. And, if it came to Biden's desk tomorrow and her desk tomorrow that, NATO must revive its destruction of Libya, which is already completely destructed, she'd sign whatever document or authorization that would require in a heartbeat. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
She's not a good person. She's not to be trusted. Like Joe Biden, like Donald Trump, like Mike Pence, like Obama, everybody
Her
that came
dad
before
warned
them.
us about her. Like
What's
Kamala
that?
Harris's dad warned us about her. Donald
Yeah.
Harris.
Yeah.
They don't have a good relationship. I
No.
think from when she was a child, they didn't have a good relationship. And so I think she carried on these issues with her. And I think that's something that these elites that control politicians take advantage of. Because Obama also had father issues. I think Hillary might have. Bill Clinton, like that's something that they prey upon, and they use that to their advantage to control these politicians. Like they make them feel good in a way, and so it's easier for them to manipulate. It's like, look, if you keep doing this, like, you're gonna feel like you have
Yeah,
more
there's
power,
definitely a
you know?
certain psychology that's better for um the grooming process. But I mean, that just really goes back to it. Like the politicians that you are standing for and that think are like fighting for, they don't make decisions. These people don't actually make the decisions. They are puppets. Like they are
Yeah.
puppets. They are like the hand puppet to the oligarch behind the scenes who's actually making the shots and paying the lobbyists and writing the bills and all of that stuff. I wish we could get people to see that, because I think that would be like a breakthrough moment for humanity, because once you know that, like it's a whole new ball game. Like now it's like a whole new line of attack. It's a whole new mindset, and that's really like the problem, is that people don't understand that politicians are not not really in control much at all.
They defer to caucus.
Well, and the
Yeah.
caucus is some nameless, faceless billionaire behind the scenes who's really pulling the strings and who's really coming up with policy and then paying politicians to do what they want. And like it's
Yeah.
like a
Well,
completely corrupted system where
Nancy Pelosi and her shadow backers.
yeah,
Mhm.
like Nancy Pelosi is just the figurehead on the corruption. That's it. That's all she is. I mean, she's just really good at fundraising, and I don't know, like I just wish we could get people to recognize that it's not politicians that we
Yeah.
really need to be all that worried about.
And
It's really not.
that's why the mainstream media talks about these politicians way more than they talk about billionaires. They barely talk about the billionaires that control these politicians, and that's what keeps us distracted. And that's why it's
Mhm.
such a waste of time when these independent media journalists and commentators spend their time talking about Trump and talking about Biden and not talking enough about the people who own them, like not tying it
Yes.
back in, like giving a more systematic discussion about it. They don't do it. They stick to surface level issues, and that's what keeps people distracted. And
Which that's
AOC
not to
does this on
say that
purpose.
like yes. But that's
Yeah.
not to say that like those surface level issues like I get fighting for Medicare for all. Like that's 100% something that we should be doing, because public
Hmm.
pressure can work. Like it can reach a point where they don't have a choice, and we really do need Medicare for all. Like that people really, I mean really we need like an NHS type system or whatever. I mean I don't even care, but like we just there's no reason for us to be having for-profit healthcare in the United States of America still at this point in 2021. That's ridiculous. People are dying. This is something we could fix immediately. Public pressure can work. So yeah, let's do that. But it's still, you're right. Like not enough people focus on the real, like the root of it. Like the
Hmm.
real root of it. Like it's like, it's Medicare for all, but then they don't ever talk about the reasons why we don't have Medicare
Yeah.
for all, and why the health insurance companies are, why we're allowing them to pay, billions of dollars to lobbyists to, make sure our politicians don't pass it. Like it's got overwhelming support polling wise, but we can't even get a floor vote on it because our politicians are owned and controlled by insurance companies and big pharma. And do you know what I mean? So it's like, but they don't talk, nobody talks about that part of it. It's just, we need Medicare for all. And people like, that's a big problem, like getting past that surface level of things and really digging in deep, which I get is scary. When it's difficult to, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. Like people don't know their history, and I think it's scary for people to admit that everything that they've ever been taught and that they thought they knew is bullshit. Like, that's a lot to take in. So, I mean, I get it. I get why it's hard for people to push past that, like, barrier and really recognize what's going on, because that is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
You know? It's a little scary.
It's also difficult too because it requires having discussions like the one we're having now, and it's cool because we're all homies, but it's still an in-depth, difficult discussion, and we're not mining for answers here, but we're trying to analyze what the hell is going on, and it's not easy. Like, none of us, I'm just speaking for myself, but I don't have the answer to fixing what's going on. But I think part of finding the answer is pointing out what's wrong. And I think that's what, like Franco, your show and our show, that's what we try to do in a sense, in addition to other goals of, filling media voids and covering things that aren't covered. But yeah, there's always that part of me that, like, that anarchist kid part of me that would love to see the system just, like, overthrown overnight, but that's not a reality. And even if it were, that would be super chaotic and probably not good for most people. So
Yeah.
I don't know where the balance lies, but we're certainly not balanced right now, in my opinion.
We're getting our asses kicked. Straight up.
Yeah.
Like, they're killing us. They're killing us. That's not, like, hyperbolic. Like, that's legit. Our government is killing us by the, like, millions, really. I mean, it's intense. And that's what's baffling to me, is that it's really bad. It's getting worse. And people seem to, like, just be zombie walking into their own demise. And it's sad to watch. Like, it's really sad to watch. It's like kind of like with Julian Assange. Like, the First Amendment is getting ripped to shreds in broad daylight, and nobody seems to care. And it's bizarre to watch. Like, it's really weird to me. And especially, like, to me, free speech was always a very solidly leftist issue. And now you have people proclaiming to be of the left, advocating for censorship, and you have people like Sarah Palin speaking out in defense of Julian Assange. And it's weird. It's fucking bizarre. And I don't understand what happened to the left. I don't know why this is suddenly, I mean, people are actively campaigning for the opposite of free speech, and they're claiming to be left. And when did that happen? Does anybody know? Because when did that happen? This has been mind-boggling to me since I started, like, really getting involved in free speech activism. I mean, it's always been something I cared about, but, like, once, I really got involved in, like, Assange stuff, when did that happen? Because I wasn't paying attention when that happened. Clearly.
It's
I don't
bizarre
know.
world, right?
Yeah.
I think it happened when people started supporting Bernie. Like, people were woken up about some truths, but then they got distracted. They got too comfortable staying there, and they didn't want to accept major criticisms against their candidate. Like, they didn't want to go deeper into, like, out of the matrix, like, talking about the root for why we have these problems. Like, they're not talking about the Great Reset. They're not talking about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and what they do to the global South, like kids in the global South, like the way they treat them like lab rats. They're not talking about the Rothschilds, and that's because they're comfortable listening to confirmation bias. Like, they think they got it all figured out because we had this great politician who was exposing some truths, but they're not realizing that it's just that. It's just some truths. It's not the whole truth. And
No.
that's why we need people like us to collaborate more, because there's people that are finding out about it. Like we have a lot of mutual viewers, and what these people do is they talk to each other. Like when you see them like on the live stream chat, they're also on Discords, they're also on Twitter together. These people are exchanging information, like they're finding out about all of these journalists and stuff. So that's what we need to do more. We need to cross-pollinate more and inform people, because what that does is raise people's consciousness, and then that motivates them to talk to other people who are also raising their consciousness. That's another silver lining right there, is people are figuring things out, and I am starting to see a domino effect. It was really empty, I bet, for Nico when he first started out, like back in 2017 when he was calling out TYT, and like all the other independent channels were just echoing TYT and having some minor disagreements with stuff. But there's more of us out there now. We got Combo Couch, we got us, we got Alex, Caleb Maupin, we have the Gray Zone also are more popular now than ever. So that's what we got to do, is just keep going to not only like collaborating like this, but man, I would love to go to another event like we had in DC.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. We're going to try to get something together for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because the whole hashtag Clovers for Assange started, I don't know, maybe about a little over a year ago or whatever. So Steve actually had the idea to kind of I think he just really wanted to have another event so we could all get together again. Because that was magic. Like just being around that many people who get it was nice. Like that's a nice change. To not have to explain things to people, but yeah, so Steve came up with this idea to try to do an event around Clovers for Assange. So I think we're going to try to do DC. I think we're actually also I'm going to try to organize kind of like a Assange supporter matchmaker, sort of a system. So kind of like, not matchmaker, but like, hey, are you an Assange supporter in Phoenix? Here, we're going to set up your own Discord, or we're going to set up your own whatever. Like you guys can get together, and so that way we can have protests like all throughout the country. Because I think a lot of people would get more involved if they didn't feel like they were on their own. So I think if we can introduce people to each other through social media, and then they can kind of coordinate together and maybe start to get to know each other and then plan events together, I think that would be hugely beneficial. So, because I really do think that a lot of people want to get involved, but they don't. Like they feel like it's just them and they're on their own and they don't really know what to do. And so I think if we can get people introduced to each other, we could probably start to see some more actions grow out of that. So I'm going to try to figure out how the best way to like go about like organizing all that is. But yeah, I would love to like be able to see more people, come out and get involved. But yeah, we're definitely going to do an event in March. So yeah, everybody should plan on getting to DC for that if you can, or like organizing your own shit in your own town. Like all it takes is like a poster board and a marker and a corner, and you got a protest, homie. There you go. Just you and a poster board. Go.
You just need a bottle of Krylon.
Yeah, or just like, even if you like just print some
can.
flyers and then just go like staple them up to light posts in your town, like that's a protest kind of. Like there's stuff you can do in your own town, like just little things. Even if it's not around Assange, just go like do something, because we need people doing something, like lots more people.
The matchmaker idea sounds a lot like Freedom Cells, what Derek Bros helped organize, like having this app where people find other people near them that know about, some of the stuff that are happening.
He has a thing, like he has an app. I should pick his brain.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
That
really
would be
good.
cool.
He's a really he's a great journalist. But
Yeah.
some of the things that some of the viewers were saying that do have his app were saying like, yeah, I'm in this region, but there's nobody near me. He was like, yeah, you just got to be patient. There's going to be more people that will pop up sooner.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. Like you might not see anybody nearby you initially, but just be patient. there's going to be more people that pop up as more people get.
Well, yeah, because especially if you're first starting to organize it, as it goes on, more and more people hear about it, they'll start adding themselves in there too. So yeah, it definitely takes some time to get everybody organized, but I think I really think that more people would get active if they didn't feel like they were on their own. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of scary to like try to do, especially if you're not super familiar with organizing, or if you're just like, if like Bernie was your introduction into politics and now you're like well beyond him, and you like really want to be more active, but you're kind of new to politics and all of this stuff, like being able to go as a group, I think it's I think that would help for sure. But yeah, we got to figure out other ways that we can coordinate and organize and plan, because the censorship is coming hardcore. Like I honestly don't know how fast it's going to come. Part of me thinks it's going to be really super rushed on us. Like there's going to be some like event of some kind of like maybe like a January 6th on steroids or something, and then they'll be able to push it through that way. Or maybe they'll slow roll it, because they've been slow rolling it for a long time. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but we really do have to start thinking of like decentralizing other platforms, different ways of organizing. We have to get creative. We definitely need to start getting creative.
Yeah, Franco, I'm curious. What censorship or pushback have you received with your show, if any?
The thing I mentioned about how the video, the stream I was attempting to do, it failed, and then I deleted that, and then YouTube gave me like a warning for that, and they were like, if you get another warning like this, then we're gonna go a week without posting any content. And it's like, that video is deleted, it's long gone, and it was accidental. What else have I received? It was a really hard uphill battle when I was at like 100 subscribers or so. It was really hard. I think after hitting 1,000, it gets easier because there's more people sharing your stuff then. But YouTube doesn't do a good job with helping small channels get bigger.
Right.
My video, there's people that messaged me that said that they got unsubscribed. So I'd let my viewers know to make sure that they didn't get unsubscribed. I'm sure it's happened to you guys as well. But just the typical stuff that happens to the other content creators as well, like Combo Couch, like Graham Elwood and Nico House. I think Nico House is like one more strike and then he's out of like that channel that he has with 40,000 plus subscribers will be lost.
Just disappear overnight.
On YouTube.
All that hard work that people have put in, like years of work, and then YouTube just takes it away like that. That's why we got to back our things up to hard drives. Like I got this one here. Like I put all the videos that I make into this hard drive. And Odyssey also backs things up from YouTube. But yeah, we're going to have to find a way to save our work, because YouTube is going to throw it all away at one day. One day we're going to wake up and see that our content is gone.
Yeah. Every video, every interview we do, I make sure that I have a hard copy of it saved. So, because like you said, I think one day we're going to wake up and it's going to be kaput, sadly.
And then who will be left on YouTube? It'll be mainstream media, and then like the only independent, quote unquote, independent channels will be like TYT, Majority Report, like like the Humanist Report.
Well, that's
like
really
that
mainstream. To me, that's mainstream.
Yeah,
like that stuff's mainstream. Real talk. I mean, they're getting corporate donations. They have MSNBC contracts, some of them.
Or they repeat corporate media talking points. So it's like, what's the point? If you're giving me the same news I would get from corporate media.
Is there a non-humanist report?
Non-humanist report?
Jesse gets really annoyed at the name Humanist Report and Secular Talk.
Yeah. Is
Trans.
there
They're so dumb.
non-secular talk? Like,
Yeah, it's
you
just
know,
silly name.
it's hard to come up with a
Silly,
name, so
silly.
I don't can't fault them all
I'm
the way,
like,
but
I would like to know like how they came up with those names. I'm just curious. I'm sure that they've talked about it on their show at some point, but I've never been a fan of either one, so I'm not, and I have
yeah,
no desire to go back and try to find that information. But yeah, ugh,
they can keep their
man.
I outgrew them,
yeah.
and a lot of people who watch my show also tell me like just recently that they like figured out their BS. There's other people that figured it out long before me. Like I have
Yeah.
people on my Discord like I unsubscribed from Kyle in 2018, but then I get people in my comment section are like, hey, I just unsubscribed from Kyle like 2 weeks ago because he's like not objective about the election stuff.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that there's some people that are waking up and figuring things out.
Yeah.
I get the same thing from like Bernie supporters who at some point either blocked me or muted me or unfollowed me or whatever because I was hard on him like in 2017 or whatever, 2016, 2017. And they'll come back now and they'll be like, hey, I unfollowed you or I whatever because you were super hard on Bernie and I totally didn't agree with you, but now I get it. And you were right. And so you're right. People are like learning, and Steve always says that like everybody's on their own journey, and so like we can't expect everybody to be where we are, but that's hard. That's really hard to do.
It gets annoying, especially when they throw ad hominem attacks at you.
Mhm.
Just my advice would be for people like that who get into arguments with people on Twitter is to just not take it too personally. And the only times I block people is when they're harassing me. Like if they just never leave me alone, they're always commenting on my stuff with really annoying, like ad hominem attacks and sending me messages. That's when I block them. With other people, some of them are more
like
genuine.
people who have you experienced this? I have people like there's a small group of people who they will literally follow me around Twitter. Like they have me blocked, but they will watch for people to comment on my tweets and then they will harass those people who have just commented on my tweet and like will start talking shit about me to those people and being like I can't or like you're following this person and she's a Nazi or whatever. Like it's this I don't even like do these people not have lives? What are they doing? That's like they follow like random.
They're trying really hard to hold on to the illusion, like the truth that they want to be true, like the truth that they want, but it's not really the truth. And when somebody is like presenting alternatives to what they believe to be true, then it's like their lives are being threatened. Like subconsciously, that's what they feel. And so that's why they get so angry, like, because they don't want their reality to be destroyed. They don't want their illusion to go away.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sad for them. But like, I can't imagine following, like, I'm just some chick from Ohio and people follow me around Twitter to harass people that comment on my tweets.
They put you in pictures. It's like, these are like, these people are shameful. And they put you with like Nico House and like Fiorella.
Yeah.
And it's like the worst collage you could make. Like if you were just given all of those pictures and were like, make a collage, like, it's always the worst one that you could possibly make. Like it's just mashed
like, why'd
together.
you put it in this order?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm always first. Have you noticed that? Like I'm always first. Always first. It's unreal.
Most.
I don't know.
Like I get it. I do piss people off. Like I'm not for everybody. I get that. Like okay. But you really need to like follow me around and put me on lists and shit. Like really, it's really weird. Like I'm a mom from Ohio who's like chilling on my Twitter, and you guys are like pretending like I'm this grave threat to humanity. It's so fucking weird.
My whole response to people like that is I don't respond. It's like everything I've said it's in the show or it's on my Twitter. And also my email is wide open on my Twitter. Like anybody can email me at that address. So like if you want to have a serious conversation, or you have a question, or you want something clarified, or you want to have a debate, just email me. Like, I'm not interested in going through like Twitter, uh, back and forth. And again,
it's not even back and forth. They do
it-
it from behind a block, most of them.
yeah, they'll, we'll get comments on the show like, well, what do you mean by this? And it's like, well, I explained it in the show. It's like the band Fugazi said, they were, when they were asked like, like, what do your lyrics mean? And Ian MacKaye said, well, we print all our lyrics in the liner notes. It's all right there. So just figure it out for yourself, And I feel the same way about doing shows. It's like, we're not being surreptitious or mealy-mouthed. I think we're pretty straightforward with what we say and where we stand. And so I feel like anybody who comes on afterward and is trying to like needle you for, I don't know what, it's like they either haven't watched the show or they've watched the show and they don't understand, like,
Most people don't watch the shows before they comment. Like,
Yeah.
The people who were like irate over Jimmy Dore interviewing Magnus, were openly admitting, I didn't watch the interview. I'm not going to watch the interview.
Yeah.
But here's the reasons why I'm furious. Like, you didn't even watch it, fam. Like, what do you,
Yeah.
you can't be furious at something you didn't experience. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, are you a grown up? Grown-ups, that's not a grown-up thing to do.
No.
Yeah.
So
I think
yeah.
they want to hold on to this illusion that they want to be true.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so yeah, we've been going for like an hour and 40 minutes, and I actually have a vigil in 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
we should probably wrap up because I got to get over there.
All right.
Sounds good,
I have a
guys. I
very
really
full
enjoyed
night.
this conversation. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
And
It was great
yeah,
to have
tell
you
it was
on.
fun, just
everybody-
like when I had you guys on. It was
Yeah.
it was a great time.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
But tell everybody where they can find the show and your
yeah.
Twitter and all that good stuff. I mean, we'll link to it all, but still, you know how it goes.
You can find me on Twitter at B43Franco. I'm also on YouTube at Franc Analysis. And I'm also now on Rockfin at Franc Analysis as well. It's rockfin.com/Franc Analysis. I'm also on Odyssey. And yeah, just follow me there. Check out my Discord. I have a fun community. And you're going to see people like Misty and Jesse come on my show. Combo Couch, Steve, they're all going to be showing up on my show. We all collaborate with each other. We're like a family that's developing, that's trying to inform people. And you guys, the viewers, are also part of that family.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
All right.
What a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good. Thank
You
you
gotta
so
make
much.
you gotta make the audience feel like they're also part of the journey because they're helping us
Well,
out.
they
They're
are.
sharing our stuff.
Yeah.
They're supporting
They are.
us.
I mean, yeah, and they're like our chats are all like super informed, very helpful. I mean, it's good people. Like you're right. It is like a little family. Like I think we've all realized and have been under kind of the same attacks, and we all kind of realize that we have to band together. Like there's safety in numbers, and we're all under attack, and we just have to help each other, boost each other, take care of each other, look out for each other. Which is nice. That's like it's nice to
Solidarity.
well, yeah, but I mean, like dealing with the assholes we have to deal with, it's nice to know that it's not like it's not just you. Like you have a little
Right.
army behind you who's got your back. So
Right.
yeah, it's definitely a family for sure.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Franco, for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll definitely talk soon and see you on the Twitter sphere.
Yeah.
Yep. See you
And
guys
thanks
there.
everybody for watching. Yep.
Okay. Take care, y'all.
Bye guys.